Woozi's either on the beat, on the vocals, just somewhere. That's where we get this 17 sound. Like even one of the members, I think it was S-Coops in a recent video or last year, said 17 is Woozi because so much of their sound is from his brain. 17 is Woozi's brainchild.
Hi, I'm Chris Molly, and this is Pod in the Verse, a fan-first podcast that takes K-pop further than ever. Episode by episode, we'll dive deep into the latest content, get to know other fans, and explore the latest news. Remember that if you'd like to hear the Spanish version, we have one. It's called Todo en el Verso. También hay una versión en español que se llama Todo en el Verso. Please check that out if you're interested. So, grab your favorite headphones, get comfortable, and get ready to dive into the pod with us. Today, we have a very special guest with me here today, hailing all the way virtually from New York. Umu, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Umu, and I am the founder of the YouTube channel called ReactToTheK's. I did go to school for classical music, for French horn performance, and audio music engineering. However, I ended up becoming a full-time content creator shortly after graduating. You may know my channel for the Classical and Jazz Musicians React series, or maybe one of my interviews with K-pop songwriters and producers have crossed your dashboards. Either way, even if you haven't met me before, I am so honored to be here. I've been a fan of 17 since 2017. Not a coincidence, is it? And I'm just so excited to give a unique perspective from like a musician perspective as a CARAT.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Umu. Honestly, I am so excited to have you here because as someone who's a musician, I feel like you will give us a different look to what it's like to create music and to enjoy music made by people who love it so much and really want to give so much to CARATs. So why are we talking about 17? Well, they actually just finished their performance, their historic performance at Tecate Pal Norte in Monterrey, which I believe they were the first K-pop like co-headlining act in its history. And it's insane that they keep breaking and doing all these different milestones 10 years into their career. So we're going to take a journey through their career.
I'm so excited.
And I'm so excited too to talk about this with you. So just a couple of the things that they've gotten to do. You know, Tecate Pal Norte, they got to go to Glastonbury Festival, Lollapalooza Berlin. They have gone on so many different global stages. And as a CARAT of so many years, I want to know, Umu, like your experience seeing them perform.
Oh man, I'm so proud. Yeah, so I began my journey as a CARAT back when I first started my Classical and Jazz Musicians React series because we were discovering K-pop for the first time and fans would come into the comment sections and say, oh, it looks like you like this group and this style of music. Maybe you'll like Aju Nice, Pretty You, Adore You, songs that are a little more funky and that have like little blues licks here and there. And so because we had a group of people saying, oh, you should check out this 17 song, we all fell head over heels in love. And then soon after, I was able to see 17 perform live at KCON. I got to see them every single time they performed at KCON, and I just grew obsessed. And therefore, I went to their tours, O2U tour, and this last year's tour as well. And so there's just no other group. Okay, I know this sounds like maybe a little cheesy or maybe exaggerated, but there really is no other group like 17 when it comes to the variety and the strength and natural talent that they have when it comes to performing. It just really looks like they live and breathe on stage, and that like being on stage fuels them more than anything else. And so therefore, as an audience viewer, they fuel you too. It's been a ride.
No, I love that. Yeah, no, I love that. I do remember when they debuted like eons ago because I thought like, whoa, like this is a very big boy group. Like, wow, this is amazing. Like I'm kind of confused like what's going on because they had a very unconventional start to their debut. At the time when I got into K-pop, like normally I experienced that when groups debuted, they debuted in their entirety. Later along the way, they have their subunits that come along, which is either maybe a duo, 3 of them, half the group, just different pairings. So that way fans can get a different side of them. But 17 debuted like as 17 and then with their 3 subunits. So, I mean, like, what's your take on that?
I believe since their pre-debut trainee life was all broadcasted on TV, I believe it was a series or program called 17 TV or the 17 Project. A lot of fans got to see as the idea and concept for this group developed and how it changed and such. And so I heard that initially for these subunits, they were thinking of having, we'll have a subunit that will target Japan. We'll have a subunit that will target China. We'll have a subunit that targets Korea. And then they realized, actually, let's switch it up. Let's do a hip hop, performance, and vocal subunit, which I am so glad they did because these members are some of the strongest performers in those categories in these subunits. So being able to split everyone into smaller groups really gives their voices, their dances, just like their own unique energy more time to shine versus when it's, the full group of 13 members. And it's like an entry point into getting into 17, right? So a lot of people see 13 members and they think, too many people. Like, I'm overwhelmed. Too many, because a lot of the K-pop life is learning everyone's name, everyone's blood type. I don't know, like everyone's
picking
birthday,
a bias
all that
out of 13, like
exactly, and they get super overwhelmed. So having these subunits just right off the get-go helps you just familiarize yourself with each individual talents, and then it just leads you into being more open-minded to accepting the 13 members together.
It's like their gateway into the fandom for some people because you might see something that I remember that they even had like a 17 leaders at one point. So you see this, you hear the music, you see them and you're like, wait, like they're part of something bigger. And then you fall into that and you're like, well, it's too late. I can't leave. I'm here for life. It's going to be great. I think though, what's really interesting about them too is they not only debuted with their separate units, but they have this sort of like name of being like a producers group, like a producing group.
I think, a main reason why 17 has grown to be so popular is because they've had so much personal experience and in developing their sound and the choreography and the lyrics. And so therefore, no matter what genre that they come back with, if it's a complete 360, right? Like we used to have funky 17, and then there was like the Fear era 17 with more EDM releases. Then there's the Rock With You era with more rock related releases. And each time, each genre is very different. But because we have the member Wooji, sometimes his producer buddy, I believe that could be a term, his producer friend Bumzu, and then also a handful, maybe even more than half of 17 has written the lyrics for them because they themselves are working on every single song that they release. There is always that 17 flavor. And I would love to tell you more about like how you can listen for that.
Yeah, I'm sad. Go for it.
Fantastic. So my knowledge of the K-pop production process has grown over the past couple of years because I've gotten the courage to just randomly reach out to a K-pop producer and be like, hey, this is my YouTube channel. Can I, interview you? And I've learned a lot about the behind the scenes life of a music producer and how music producers interact with K-pop idols who write for their own group as well. I had the absolute honor of interviewing a previous Pledis A&R who worked with Woozi and Bumzu back in specifically the song Habit and a few others as well, where she had an idea for what sound they wanted and she brought the producers over to Pledis. And sometimes Woozi and Bumzu, they have a beat and then they work together with a producer to add more layers to that. Sometimes this new producer comes in, brings the instrumental, brings the beat, and then Woozi just does all the singing. And so because Woozi's either on the beat, on the vocals, just somewhere, that's where we get this 17 sound. Like even one of the members, I think it was S. Coops in a recent video or last year, said 17 is Wooji because so much of their sound is from his brain. 17 is Woozi's brainchild. And so let's talk about when a song is being written. Yeah. So sometimes you start with a melody. Sometimes you start with a beat. And when it comes to creating beats, sometimes you just lean towards specific sounds. You lean towards specific instruments. You lean towards specific rhythms, which is just like when a sound or a note will happen in space. And maybe because it's Woozi choosing these things, you can start to recognize, oh, whenever there's a rap verse, he's going to take out the first beat. There's going to be complete silence, and then the rap is going to start, and then it's going to hit. Because that's just a Woozi thing. Like, that's a Woozi thing when it comes to creating beats. He has his biases towards certain sounds and what, I don't know, he enjoys creating and what gives the song energy. I also noticed that he does a lot of the vocal demos. Like when working with producers, he'll write the top line, he'll sing every single part, every single harmony. And then when the members go into the studio, he vocal directs them. Even when it comes to melodies, the beautiful lyrical singing in 17 songs, I find there are little similarities sprinkled throughout all their songs. Yeah. Like I've noticed, I was marathoning their songs today, and Woozi really likes the musical term is called syncopation, but it's when, so if you're like nodding your head to a beat, the syncopation is when your head goes up. The strong beat is when your head goes down. So, unts, unts, unts. Like
okay, I got it.
The up part is the syncopation. The up part is the weak beat. And he has like with ready to love, da 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 da. It's all on the off beats. The beginning of Rock With You, the pre-chorus to Super, like it's all just like emphasis on the weak beats. And that's what I'm like seeing as being Woozi's sound when it comes to writing melodies. And on top of that, I believe he also has a fantastic ear for harmonies. And so what harmonies are, if you're singing one single note, this is just called a melody, but a harmony is a second note, third note, fourth note, fifth note stacked upon that single note. And so these notes can have different spaces in between them. So let's say I'm singing down here, and then another harmony would be up here. Like that would be a harmony above. And it would have, it's a specific space above the lower note. And so typically when writing pop music, songwriters often add these harmonies or these vocal layers in a very specific pattern to perfectly synchronize and follow the original melody. So like when the lower melody goes ah, the melody will go ah, it will leap the exact same length. And those are called parallel harmonies. But Woozi doesn't do that all the time. He doesn't just stick to the easy, let's copy paste this melody and just have it completely in exact unison with everything else. Like he's like, let's leap up, let's go down, let's create tension. It's no matter what genre.
Yeah, it's sonically engineered for you to be obsessed with it then. Okay.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Yeah. So there are times in which Woozi will like use like a recognizable instrument, but then sometimes there's going to be complete genre changes. And so you can't use that same instrument, but you're going to hear his vocal arrangements. You're going to see how he plays around with the beats to make sure a member shines, and recognize his and Bumzu's work with those songs, even though they're a completely different genre. It's very fun.
I mean, it's so cool to hear you explain it like that, because as someone who does not come from a music background at all, I played the viola for a couple of years in high school, dropped it. I've never like thought about how so many moving pieces have to come together to make one song, or actually a beat, because as you mentioned, like sometimes they'll get beats taken to them and they have to layer, and then it comes like, okay, like, are we putting harmonies? What are we going to do with this? And then even in the studio, they're switching things up, like how things should end. I think that's so insane. It's like basically, yeah, sonically engineering. They're really like putting in the hard work to make such like one great song.
Exactly.
And so, and you mentioned it's always 17. So because Bumzu and Woozi and like sometimes other members are always involved, like that's why even if they're switching genres, it will always feel like them. So next, let's talk about a little bit about how this probably is what makes them stand out. Like it's been 10 years. This May, 17th anniversary. Like I can't believe it, 10 years with 17. And they've had this iconic music, choreography, like performance, stage presence. Like what else do you think is it that truly like has brought them this far?
Right. I definitely think it's a mixture of many different things. One small reason, like you said, is because Wooji and Bumzu, you see their credits and other members' names all the time, even 10 years later, even when, they move from Pledis to Pledis under Hybe, when they bring in new co-producers, like you still see their names collaborating with these new co-producers. And so to have this consistent sound, even with genre and style changes, that is one thing that definitely helps keep a core fandom, because I know so many other instances in which an artist has a comeback, complete genre change. People lose interest because that isn't why they initially became a fan. So that's one of the reasons why I think people are still loving them 10 years in. Another reason why is because of their chemistry and their really awe-inspiring teamwork and their just love and dedication for each other. I think they've been together, they've known each other for almost 15 years at this point, because they spent half their lives together. They're family at this point. They know every little detail about each other. They all have very, if not the same, they have very similar goals with each other. And having that is an endless power, because I feel like usually around 7, 8, 9 years in, that's when maybe other members start to leave because their dreams develop into something else. But it's absolutely insane that 17 still 13 members going strong, just naturally born comedians. I think they know how to bring joy to each other, and therefore fans are able to see that as well.
Yeah, and I really love your take on that, because, it's a great feat to stay together as a group for any stretch of time. But 10 years, 15 years, it's like half of somebody's life. And so I think it's amazing that they're bonded together by that shared experience. And that's likely what bonds CARAT to them too. But, you mentioned orchestra. So, I know you've been to music school. I have to know, have you ever been a conductor before?
So I've never been professionally trained in conducting, but when you go down this educational route of playing and performing and rehearsing in a music school, you're going to have to step up and conduct ensembles and rehearsals sometimes. So, wow, I'm guessing we're leading to something to do with conducting or directing. Being a maestro of a group, it's it's a lot of pressure, man.
But on that note, you already dropped the word maestro. Come on, maestro. So did this mean anything to you? Because even in the music video, not just the name maestro, but the music video shows it. The song itself is a huge work of art. Tell me, what does it mean to you, or what can we grasp from that?
Right. I've always, ever since I got into K-pop, I started dreaming about a day in which a K-pop group had a classical music or classical performance themed comeback. And so seeing the various instruments in the music video, a conductor's baton being passed around, even some conducting being part of the choreo, and then a giant metronome in the background. I think we called it my team, when we saw it, called it the mama or papa metronome, because it's this huge towering thing that it keeps pace. Towards the end of the music video, we're like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. But I think we were most surprised to see most of the musical references and the classical music references appearing in the lyrics, not the song itself. And so I would love to do a little breakdown of the lyrics from a classical perspective, perhaps explain why they use
our maestro
the terms.
And our conductor. Yeah.
I got you. All right. We're starting from the top. They use these musical terms as very poetically. A lot of them like metaphors. And so play it to one standard pitch. It's them coming together to be, their synchronized team. Up next, they say a 17 scherzo. And a scherzo is a vigorous, light, or playful composition. Yes, I got this off of Google's definitions. It's just the easiest thing to do, which usually takes place in a larger piece. So when they say a 17 scherzo, they're referring to maybe this song or one of their songs in general being a small piece of their larger work of discography. And Up next, they say, we play the trumpet for the world. And a trumpet is a very bright, nasally, loud brass instrument. You're going to hear this in fanfares. You're going to attach the sound of it to maybe movie soundtracks and superhero soundtracks because they go like, bah, bah, bah. And so the fact that they're saying, we're playing the trumpet for the world, it's like a welcoming, it's like an intro, it's like a fanfare. And also, I think personally that it might be a reference to Aju Nice and God of Music because trumpets are heavily featured in those two songs. Up next, they say, accelerando or accelerando, rise to the top. And accelerando means accelerate. You're going to gradually be getting faster and faster, 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 faster. And so they're saying, I believe, like, you know what? Our numbers, they're going to keep rising faster and faster. We're going to be getting more fans faster and faster while we're rising to the top. Because if you listen to the music, it doesn't necessarily get faster. So this is one of those moments that I think they're like using it as a metaphor to describe their popularity burst. Up next, a sonata that rings out from high above. I think it's a very fancy, poetic way, you know, of saying like, you're hearing our voices, right?
Yeah.
And then they bring in the title, following the maestro's lead. I'm guessing that's how they're saying like, this is how maybe the one member up in the front, how you like make sure you're following them synchronized and all that kind of stuff. Like there's always like a leader in the front. And then they say, just tell me which rhythm, your wish is my command as we complete this piece together.
So yeah, like, wow, that's just so much. And I can't believe that there's even more to explore, but that just goes to show what a piece that Maestro is. And speaking of like songs and like how they're composed, can you like let us in on like why do you think like Aju Nice is so infectious or as infectious as it is?
The main reason why I think this song is so standout and is such the perfect encore song is the tension and release that they play along with.
Okay.
How does the hook go?
Aju Nice. Is that the hook or is that the chorus?
That's beautiful. That's a hook. Yeah. That's a chorus and hook are synonymous.
Okay, great.
Beautifully said. So if you notice, nice has like bigger emphasis on it. That's because this Aju word is what we call the anacrusis. Like it's a pickup note. It's happening on a weaker beat that leads to nice. And nice is happening on a strong beat. This is when it drops. This is when the brass comes in. And the brass kind of gives me like really fun circus type vibes. And so having them go like, it just like, it gives you so much energy. And then once again, they go back with the anacrusis on the weak beat, Aju nice. And that just gives like, it's a lot of building and falling. And because there's so many contrasting sections, like, you know, like the strings in the bridge.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, it feels very
to me,
musical.
It sounds like a couple of songs together, but
exactly. But they somehow make it work. And it becomes almost like a musical theater type performance because it's so dramatic and it shifts.
Yeah.
And then
it reminds me of like, what you're explaining, it also brings me back to also like God of Music and like that type of like very showy, theatrical. There's a lot of stuff going on in the music and in the back.
100%. It's just so busy and therefore so entertaining. And at the very end, we have them all in unison declare the melody, the main hook, the main chorus together. And you may think, this is like a nice, cool outro where we just all sing along.
Yeah.
You know, the audience chants along with the artist. But fun fact, sing the chorus again.
Aju nice. Aju nice.
Now, slow down the brass part. The da 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 da. Does that remind you of something?
I'm going to need you to feed it to me.
It's the outro melody. Da 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 da. It's the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Does it like flip or?
It's just like it's a slightly slower rhythm. And I don't think it's like, it doesn't move as fast and maybe it doesn't switch as fast between notes. So it's just like a simplified version of the chorus that we've been hearing the entire time. And that's why it also is so darn catchy because we can hear this melody over and over in different ways. That doesn't make it too repetitive. It's just
Oh my God, now I know why it stays stuck in my head because it's literally doing the same thing but differently.
exactly. Now that's what we call genius songwriting.
Okay, and then that's also why we stay for hours at the concert doing this the same but differently for hours on end. So thank you
Breaking
so
our
much
backs.
for
Yep.
for breaking that down because I think now it makes a little bit more sense, at least sonically, why the song means so much. So thank you so much for this, music time with Umu. We're gonna move on to our next segment, the Weverse wrap up. So we have a lot of news coming out. 17 actually just released their 10th anniversary light stick. It came out March 26th. Have you had a chance?
I am looking at it right now. The fans are going to get my genuine first reaction. I think their third or fourth gen light stick. So seeing this one, oh man, they have the best color palette, the really gorgeous color
it's
palette.
beautiful.
And I like how there's both a diamond on the inside and the dome on the outside is cut in a way to, also look like a diamond. It's so pretty.
It's one of the prettiest versions out there. I think it's
Yes.
beautiful and I cannot wait to try to find one.
Same.
And then next, as well with 17, they're having their world tour. 17 right here, world tour in cinemas out worldwide, April 2nd. So are you going to go watch it?
Sounds like I've got to grab all my fellow carrots in my area and we'll throw a party and head on over to the theater together. That sounds very exciting.
It sounds like a plan. And then Mark Lee from 17 is releasing his first full-length album, The First Fruit, on April 7th. So super soon.
Oh my gosh, we've been waiting for this for so long. I feel like he's been teasing his debut ever since he debuted in the 3-4 different groups that he's currently in. So this is going to be huge and I'm very excited.
Oh yeah, same. We also just had J-Hope's LA fan event, which will be showing some street interviews. So everyone keep an eye out for that.
Woo! It's so curious to hear what everyone has to say.
Oh, I know. I always love seeing fan interactions. So, and then we also have Cat's Eyes Icon Day. It's April 11th. They've been doing the Icon 30 Days Challenge leading up to it. So I think we're almost to the 30th day.
Woo! Let's go.
And then last but not least, the VOD pre-order sale for RM's Right People, Wrong Place was just available on the Weverse shop. And it's going to transition to regular sales now. The album was actually invited to the open cinema section of the 29th Busan International Film Festival. And it documents the approximate 8-month journey of RM's second solo album, Right Place, Wrong Person.
Listen.
So that's pretty cool.
That was my favorite album of 2024. So
really,
Weverse, you have my wallet.
Well, you'd be happy to know that upon purchase, you can own it permanently and watch it anytime you can.
How exciting!
So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, that's just a little bit of what's been going on with Weverse, and that was the Weverse wrap up. And now we're moving on to the fan zone. So this week for the fan zone, we have a very special prompt for you guys. Umu, we've had an awesome discussion about Maestro, and you gave us so many different musical terms, and you really explained the song, not in its full entirety, because we could do that for a whole hour, but you did mention that Uji references some music from 17's past. So to the fans listening, what does he reference? Can you figure it out?
Because it's more than just one song.
Everyone except for Umu and Umu's team and reactors are allowed to respond. They cannot be in the comments, but everyone else, you're free to do that.
Well, how do you know it's us in the comments?
If it sounds like somebody who went to music school, I'm not accepting the response.
There are other music school carrots out there,
I know. There's a lot of music school carrots. So actually, fine, I'll change it. You're allowed to help guide us. So nobody do all of the songs. Everybody add to it.
Okay, fantastic. I'll send some of my crew as moderators to the comment section to inspire more ideas.
And perfect. You'll see some hints drop down there. So I can't wait to see you guys in the comments. So Thank you so much, Umu, for spending time with us here today. I feel like I've learned so much. I know I didn't go to music school, but it feels like maybe I could have sat in on a class.
The reason why I keep running my YouTube channel is because I hear feedback that people are actually motivated to learn more about music. And that's so special to me. And I'm so glad that my content is able to give you all a deeper understanding, a deeper appreciation for all the hard work that goes into K-pop creation.
And we've loved hearing it. So if you guys really enjoyed hearing Umu talk about this, Umu, let them know where they can find you.
Yes, actually, for all the carrots listening, we just recently posted a Busok Soon primetime reaction where we have a series of 12 to 14 different classical and jazz musicians analyze the song, talk about why it's catchy, talk about where the youthful vibes come from, where the energetic, happy vibes come from. And hopefully you'll be grinning the entire time, because we were definitely grinning the entire time while listening to the song. But that's just React to the K, ReactToTheK. And we're on, I guess it would be X. And we're on all the other social media platforms that you can find us on. So I hope to see you guys there.
So everyone, please be sure to stay in contact with us. Follow us on all our socials, Instagram, we're YouTube, Spotify. You can catch us on Weverse. And thank you so much, Umu. And this was
Pod in the Verse. Bye.